So a business story is no different from a general news story. It must be accurate, well researched, balanced, fair, and contain multiple sources of information. So it's just like in the story. eh? Accurate, thorough, well researched, balanced, fair, and contain multiple sources of information. Okay. So, in business and economic stories, though, numbers, specific data, and statistics are critically important. So, what makes it different about there are a lot of numbers there, specific data and statistics, but doesn't mean, as we have seen the example here, where we said bread rose from, you can, for example, as we said, historically, price of bread has risen from 1,400 to 1,800 by January 31st, 2023. There's so many figures there. So you can simply compress, put it to a percentage, and we subtracted the old price, which is 1,400, from the new price, which is 1,800, and the difference was 400, which was the increase of the price, isn't it? And then we did calculate a percentage, that is 400 divided by the old price, which is 1,400 multiplied by 100, and we got 28.57% as an increase, isn't it? So your story rather, becomes bread has increased by 28.57%, or to the nearest 29% in the month of January. So next, let's understand the 5 Ws and an H, and there are other key questions. So we have also seen from that a good reporter always starts with the basic questions of who, what, where, when, why, and how. This is also known as the 5 Ws and 1H. In some cases, you can also add which. That makes 6 Ws. However, a business reporter takes these questions further. You, as a business reporter, you ask beyond this. For example, you ask how much and how many. That's very important. Those are very important questions for business reporter. How much and how many. So you shouldn't shy away from asking questions that how much things costs, where the money is coming from, and who it is going to. Okay, where is it going to? Okay, that is who's going to benefit from that? How much it will cost? Okay, so government, for example, said they will build a road with. You can ask how much would it cost to build that road? Maybe from Lumbazi to Bunda Tenoff. So who is benefiting? The residents of it, wasn't it? Where is money coming from? Maybe it's a loan from the Arab Bank or the World Bank. Okay. Okay. So another example would be the government decides to sell a company, privatize it. We must know the price, how much the government wants to sell that company. If there were any employees, how many were there? And if what's the fate of the employees? Are they going to be retrenched or they'll still be working there? Who are the new owners of the company? Like we had companies which were sold by government, isn't it? So government can sell a company. So a story about the sale of a building must, so you must be asking about price, sizes, employees, yeah. Okay. Otherwise, without asking prices, without asking those questions, then those stories are incomplete. Um, so, as a business reporter, never hesitate to ask questions about money and spending, and to dig for the answers if they're not readily available. Another difference is that the angle, or that's the approach that a business reporter takes on a subject. Okay. Uh, a general reporter or just generic reporter would be asking about uh, maybe effects of a road, yes? Who is going to be affected, environmental issues, how long it will take to construct. But a business reporter would be asking about who are the contractors, how much each contract is worth, yes? How many employees will be hired. So, and a business reporter or economics reporter mostly leans towards money issues. Eh? Okay. But that, of course, can be also be contained in every other story. Okay. Um, the other point is what we call the human angle. Okay. When we refer to the human angle, is let's write a story that should not only emphasize on materials of business and economic news as numbers. However, it should be about economy, finance, corporate deals, something that affects people. Eh? Yes. Eh? How does the economy, about finance, corporate deals, profits and losses, how do they affect people? So put a human face on them. Okay, that is a different matter. So, as in every good news story, a strong business story needs to have the human element to it. Don't just say the price of bread has gone up from 39%. So what? It's incomplete. Huh? The price of bread has gone up. That will mean what? People spending more. Eh? Okay. So oftentimes, when beginning reporters will find that because it can be exciting, you may focus too much on numbers and technical information. Just maybe because you're just starting and you want to show how much you know. Eh? Okay. But you forget to include how these changes in economic policy like taxation, monetary policy, etc., or in business affect everyday people. Always try to see how these affect everyday people. Okay. Including consumers. That's most important. How are consumers affected? So every business economic story must underlie, must emphasize, must focus on the human face of sorts and show how the topic of the story will affect its buyers, suppliers, producers, and the general public. Okay. So you will see that relationship between contents of business article and the people, and especially the audience, is what lends credibility to it. Is there a relationship between this story or this and the people who we call the audience? Okay. So, for instance, we'll go back to the issue of inflation. So when reporting data on the rising inflation, it becomes meaningless or useless unless it shows how it makes it difficult for aims of the ordinary person to meet. Yes. So if you talk about inflation, but without referring to ordinary people, how they're affected, it becomes meaningless. So neither the these big institutions will have that. Okay, for you, you know the immediate impact of inflation. Okay, as a journalist, or you should strive to get it. Because when inflation rises, we know that prices rise immediately, and we know how people struggle, isn't it? You talk to people and give the angle of the human face. So, looking for the human face, that's a core competence in business and economic journalism. Okay? So, something must be learned and practiced in order to create compelling business and economic story. Okay? So, as a journalist, we must find real news and make it interesting and simple. Make it real news, make it interesting and simple enough for all readers or viewers to understand. Okay? Effective headline or headlines and leads. Okay. You see, we are still following the trend of story writing. How do you write effective headlines and leads for the economics or financial story or business story? Okay. You will see that headlines are, let me say this one, Tiamike, we are going through the material we did already. Those of you have just joined us. Okay? And I think chance you find this one is will benefit you as well. So they say on average, when you put a headline there, 8 out of 10 people read the headline of the news, which is 80%. But only 2% go into the body of the story. So you can see how powerful a headline can be. So this is why headlines are so vital to the success of a newspaper, website, blog posts, and social media marketing. So first of all, you need to spend some time thinking about your headline. Don't just blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. No. Consider the 50-50 rules of headlines. You should spend half of the time it takes to write a piece of persuasive content of the headline. That's if you spend 20 minutes writing a story, spend another 20 minutes writing headline. Headline is just a small statement, short one. But the time spent on writing that one should be the same as time spent on writing the whole story. Okay. So, and your headline should include keywords relevant to the content in the body. You will know the structure of a business news story. When I'm saying a business news story, it's the same as economic news story, okay? So the structure of a business news story is the same as any news story. Okay? It is divided into the lead, body, and then conclusion. We should know by now that the lead is the beginning, the most important structural element of a story, and attempts to answer as many as the 5 W's and one H as possible without being too long or confusing. Okay. So the lead is the beginning. That's others will call it the intro. Okay. Introduction. Others call it the lead. So when you're writing business news, to craft a lead can be tricky because there are more numbers and statistics involved than in a regular news story. Okay? So to write a lead for an economics news or business news is a challenge because of the numbers. There are too many numbers in the story. And you are thinking how to capture that. Just like in other news, business news stories can be divided into hard news or feature story. Hard news is the news that is happening there and needs to be put there. Well, feature stories, these are stories also written without following the inverted pyramid structure. It can be written in several other structures. And you don't necessarily have to start with the most important information. It can be mixed, but should be interesting to read, and should have something new. It's not like you're going to be right because a certain story did not make the light of the day, and you say, this story, maybe the editors rejected it, and they say, let it be a feature. No, the feature should also be original and should be something that should have all the elements of newsworthiness. Okay. Okay. So hard news stories usually lead with hard news leads. So hard news story, for example, an accident has happened there, the president is addressing the nation, something the current, yes? And so stories, headlines for hard news stories usually lead with hard news lead, which usually summarize the most important points of the story and include the most important numbers. Yes, statistics, sales figure, earnings in the story. So when you're doing feature business stories, lead with soft leads, which can profile a person or an event that relates to the overall theme of the story. That's to say, you can write about an individual, how successful that person is as a business person. That's a soft story. That's a feature story. Okay. Okay, just leads. Let me give you an example. I'll read it out for you. It's a hard leads. That's breaking news. It's okay. Just a moment. Examples of leads. Leads, yeah. A lead meaning an introduction. Okay. So others can use the word leads. Okay. Or introduction. So the pronunciation others say lead. Okay. Yes. A headline. Now, a headline is the title of the story. Or the lead is what you start with. Headline is the title of the story. It's on top. Well, a lead is a statement. First sentence of the story. Yes. Okay. Okay. So we have here a hard leads. There are examples of hard leads. There are two about breaking news. That's one in Washington, another one in Detroit. So, for example, say General Motors Corporation and Chrysler LLC. Don't have to write it. Laid out in a stark terms Tuesday the costs of bankruptcy filing amid the mounting financial woes of the domestic automakers. Well, this is the English up there, isn't it? Advanced English. Well, if you use that English in the local news here on radio, nobody would You'll be talking to yourself, eh? So General Motors is an American company that makes vehicles. Eh? These are automobile companies, eh? Automakers. They make cars and others, right? Right. And the Chrysler as well, right? So the two companies, they laid out, they put together something, they put something down in stark terms, in strict terms. Tuesday, the costs of a bankruptcy filing amid the mounting financial woes. They filed for bankruptcy, that isn't it? Yeah. We will have simpler examples now on. So you can see there is a who, what, when. Eh? Who are the General Motors and Chrysler? What cost of what they did? They filed costs for bankruptcy. Okay. Why? Because of mounting financial woes. Yeah? Okay. So there are only three W's there. Eh? Yeah, even when and no, there's a who, a what, when, and why. Four. Yes. The companies, it was on Tuesday, it's all about bankruptcy because of financial woes, which is why. Okay. Right. There are also soft leads, like here. Soft leads, these are for features or profiles, okay? While hard leads are for hard news or breaking news. So, like here, it says St. Louis, 19 years after leaving federal prison, is a worth man. Eh? This is straightforward. Eh? Or you can just say, Jack, 20 years after leaving Zomba maximum security prison, eh, is now a worth person. Eh? That's a soft news. Lead. He and his family own luxury cars, boats, vacation homes, and this and that. Eh? Okay. This is about economics reporting, but we are trying to learn also how to write a story, isn't it? Common mistakes when journalists are writing the economics news. Number one, hiding the lead. What does that mean? The hidden lead. Does the focus on the most important news, or is the real heart of the story, and therefore better lead hidden elsewhere in the story? For example, instead of starting with like let's look at the appointment of or the inter, introduction of Martha Chisuma of Anti-Corruption Bureau, right? You know, it has not been announced, but instead of starting that Martha Chisuma has been interdicted, you say start with government has said it is the prerogative of the president to interdict, okay? Or commentators have, on embassy, for example, commentators have welcomed government step to interdict methods. But you haven't heard it, eh? You see that one, eh? Or the president is pleased with the way the anti-corruption bureau is pleasing, is performing, eh? The president said this in the long way after he swore in new cabinet ministers. Eh? The president says he, the rule of law will take its course in the interdiction of this and that. You find that that issue comes third, eh? But more tower, not going straight, that is. Okay. So that's hiding the lead. Not for news will tell you that where you start the story, the beginning of the story, that's the beginning of news. Even somebody read just an introduction should capture the whole story, isn't it? Should only read further to get more details.
Before you continue,
Uh,
when you're reporting,
yes.
there's a reporter who reports like when we're watching news, the person who says the news,
Yeah.
and then they say whosoever will say the individuals. These people, they are two different people. Do they go together or they go in different? Okay, my point is, let me just ask the question that I want to ask.
Please.
Is it possible, like I'll use that example, that when the person is reporting,
Yes.
she'll say it the way you wrote at first, that from January to whatsoever month, the price of the bread was at 400, now it has risen to 1,800. And then the person who's saying it in details, he or she will use the percentage. Can it be possible?
Okay, that is now when you work as a team, eh? Okay, so when you write a story, the story goes to the editor. Okay. Now, if it's going to be presented, maybe you want in a news bulletin, isn't it? So there is the anchor, an anchor, somebody who presents the news, or news presenter, can read briefly and say, here's a report, right? Yeah, make a sweep, right? Then you continue. So they can summarize, yes, but you can come with a report and read it out. Or somebody can read this report written by Tiami Kisue, read by Chance. Down, right? The news. Okay? Or you report live. So, yes, you can report, the news presenter can summarize it, what is in the, as then the reporter brings in the details with the report. That's what you wanted to know, isn't it? Yes. So, it's like on TV, isn't it? You They will tell you, prepare the listener, the viewers, what is coming next, in a summary form, and then you bring in the details. Yeah. Okay, so number one is about hiding the lead. Those are the common mistakes. Number two is too much in the lead. Does the lead have too many W's and H? If does it have too many numbers or too much data? You see, you don't have to have too much. Okay. Make sure that you always measure against yourself. Can I really, am I writing for radio, TV, newspaper, for blog? They have different kind of writing. You can't write something, report somebody, read a report for a minute on radio. It's too much. Minute, it's too much. Maybe some 30 seconds, it's over. Okay, you can go to 20 seconds. Right? Okay. Then the other one can be the boring lead. Does the lead grab the attention of the reader or draw them into the story? So it can be boring. Okay. Now, what else do we need to know? We need to know about news story categories. Okay? Don't forget, this is economics reporting, It's not just anything. But you find that the discipline, the steps we follow, they apply to all types of beats or rounds. A beat is what you are interested for. If you are writing about sports, that's a beat, okay? Or a round. If you want to be writing about economics, it means that's your beat or the round. Okay? So the first category is what we call spontaneous. Spontaneous. Means that happens without planning. Spontaneous. Okay? Spontaneous. So the sport news stories cover events that happen without prior knowledge during the news cycle. Like a factory gets bent, okay? Or there is a sudden changes or crashes of the stock market. Stock market, like we have the Malay Stock Exchange, there's a crash. And that means the the value of the kwacha drops and affects commodities. So, if a factory burns down or a plane crashes, okay, general assignment reporters will try to figure out what happened, who did it, why did it happen, and other general information about the story. However, a plane crashes, anybody can write that big story. But as a business reporter, we start reporting and researching the story and look at the economic or financial impact of the incident. So, if this factory has been banned, how many people will lose their jobs? How much has the company lost? What will it be like if it was producing bread? Will bread go up because there will be fewer now producers? So that would mean supply will be lower than demand. Eh? How much the damage will cost the company, insurance claims or issues, and how the incident will impact the production of the or a product. Okay, that's spontaneous. But there's another one category of what we call planned. The second source of business news story is the planned stories. What do you mean? Why the back of daily news there can be uh, are known well in advance for the actual program. So the presentation of government budget, for example, you know that government will present budget on Friday, or there will be a conference, uh, announcement of product launch, like a new product announced by a company, financial reports of a company, quarter or annual meetings, or annual earnings rather, ribbon cuttings, like opening something, cut ribbon, you know that, and many other scheduled events in advance are essentially planned business news events. Okay? Yeah. So if a reporter knows the time, location, and the principal layers, or rather principal players, and agenda items, the story can be scheduled into a news day. So the biggest variable is the actual outcome of the event, interviews following the event, or press conference. So this is a planned one, right? That's what. And then we have the other category, which is a third category, and the last of the three categories is investigative. Eh? The third category of stories is the investigative business report. So these are the stories that a reporter generates independently of pre-planned meetings or breaking news situations. Instead, the news reporter begins an investigation of documents, asks questions in a factory or a company or public authorities, and constructs a story from the ground up. So, business reporters who deliver investigative stories are highly valued by both the news team and the viewers. So, what I'm saying here, try to go for investigative stories because you will simply outwit the competition. You will do better than the others because you're able to dig up the data and numbers behind regular news story and report on the economical and financial effects of the news story. Yes. So investigative business journalists have highlighted potential cases of corruption and management, rather mismanagement, and covered some of very important issues like poor conditions of factory workers, like how workers can be in some factories. You have heard workers being closed in factories, workers sweltering under the heat. Okay, so many good business stories have led to or even forced governments to change their policies or enact new laws affecting business. Yeah, if you do a good story, you uncover some debt, some corruption, some bad working conditions, government will be forced to change some policies. Okay. So, where and how to find stories? Uh, where do you get them? So business and economic stories can come from Anyway, eh? But as mentioned, biggest complaints about business journalists that they think they don't know enough what the topics they are covering. We think we don't know enough, but that's an excuse. Eh? Every journalist needs some grasp of economics and an organized this vision of subject areas. Can help our reporters and editors ensure that they are keeping an eye on the entire picture. That is to say, know something, read something, not once, continuously throughout. Okay? You're not going to become an economist rather, but you want to go and understand what's happening when they say the economy is not running well, the economy is running well. What is it? So you don't need to be an expert. If you don't understand the basics, you don't, or you won't be able to do your job at all. Politicians, bureaucrats, public relations, companies use statistics to promote their successes and hide their failures. Yes. And money is also behind so much of what politicians do. There's money, but they don't not mention the money. But they will use figures to hide their failures. So here are some of the basic steps towards understanding the mystery behind economics and a few of the other news producing sectors in business, together with some tips on what to look for. Okay. Number one, the economy. An economy is the sum total of millions of things we do. What we grow in the ground or dig out of it. Crops. Then what do we dig out of that one? Minerals. Okay. What do we make or create? What do we buy and sell? Where we get the money from to pay for it? What do we do with the money we get for selling it? And what governments do to help or hinder all these things? Okay, so economists measure all these things and give them names such as gross domestic product, that's GDP, okay, inflation, fiscal balance, and so on. And governments and others, that's businesses, trade unions, try to influence them with different policies. Okay, so we should know what, like Malawi, what do we produce? What do we sell? What do we get money? Once we get money, what do we do with the money? Okay. Where do politicians get all the money they're flashing around? Where do they get that money? Okay. Okay. So, for all that we produce domestically, what's the country's GDP? Meaning, gross domestic products. What's inflation? Fiscal balance, spending and earnings. Are they balancing? Do we earn 200,000 per minute and spend 200,000 per minute? Okay. Or do we earn 200,000 and spend 300,000? Where does the balance come from? The more extra, but we spend more than we make. What is it? Okay. So, but all these can be influenced by government, but also by trade unions, those who represent employees. But ordinary people like us can also influence those things through our daily behavior, usually without thinking about it much or knowing what that they are doing. So that's why economics is not science. Economics is not what? A science. Okay, this is debatable. People who claim that economics is science. It is not a science. This white I saying here. It's interesting. It is to do with all kinds of human action, ranging from rational planning, saving and investment to irrational greed, fear, and corruption. Did you know that economics is not a science? Or you thought it's a science? It's a science, eh? I should think so. Okay. Um, okay. So, what kinds of stories come out of it? We shouldn't forget that we're talking about journalism, isn't it? So, the most common stories are to do with the current health of the economy and the outlook. These are called economic indicators and include such measures as GDP growth. GDP growth, how much do you get if if we were to share everything that we produce, and we share individually, how much can each get? That's what we call GDP. Inflation, price rises. That's unemployment rate, fiscal balance, trade and current account balance. Governments, as well as many domestic and international institutions, usually publish this information regularly. Well, I don't think in Malawi everything is published on that. Some are not published. So if they publish an employment rate, fiscal balance, inflation, they publish current account balance, that's trade, and what we sell, what we come from trade and international institutions. We must be sure to add value by seeking comment and analysis from both experts and real people involved, such as workers, farmers, managers, and investors. So you have that information published about inflation. Don't just put it as it is. Add value to it. Yeah? That's now the journalist's role now. By talking to various people, you're adding value. Okay. Other economic stories include the discovery and depletion of natural resources. Yes. Population growth and movement, such as migrant labor and urbanization. So when you see something like depletion of natural resources, it has also an economic connotation, an economic perspective. Okay. Population growth, okay, and movement. If people move from one country to another, it will affect labor variables. That's to say, either you are losing manpower or gaining manpower. Okay. So if people who have skills, are skilled, come here, do something which we can't do. Let's say in technology. Because it means elsewhere they have lost them, here we have gained, and vice versa. Okay. Other economic stories include also literacy and education skills, that is. Yes. Well, if somebody invests in money, we decide, are there skills there? Okay. What kind of skills do you have? Okay. Can somebody, if somebody wants pilots in mind, can they get pilots very easily? Pilots. Yeah, these are flying planes. Have we trained them enough? Have we trained enough? Okay. Maybe somebody's looking for doctors. Do we have enough for Malaya? If somebody wants to build a hospital, a private hospital. Changing cultures of savings and debt. Yeah. Maybe previously people thought saving was good, and now they change their mind. No, we better invest instead of saving. Debt. Are they good debt payers? Or once they have taken the debt, they never come back to pay back. And economic conditions in neighboring countries like Mozambique, Malawi, Zambia, Tanzania, how are they performing, those neighboring countries? So you can draw something from these countries. Government and economic policy. I suggest that we stop there. We can continue tomorrow. Okay, on government and economic policy tomorrow morning. Okay, so tomorrow,